Canada is changing fast. The kind of change you can feel in the air, see on your streets, and hear in the conversations at coffee shops. Jobs disappearing, housing prices exploding, crime rates nudging upward. And underneath it all, a cultural shift so powerful that some call it growth, while others whisper about a takeover. For decades, Canada's identity has been built on immigration. From the earliest waves of European settlers to Vietnamese refugees in the 1970s, to Syrians and Ukrainians fleeing war, newcomers have shaped Canada's economy, its cities, and its soul. In 1971, multiculturalism was written into law, an official promise that this country would be a mosaic, not a melting pot. Today, more than 1 in 4 Canadians was born outside the country. It's a number that reflects openness and opportunity, but also raises questions. Because in recent years, one group has surged to the center of both praise and controversy: Indian immigrants, particularly from Punjab and Gujarat. This isn't a slow trickle of demographic change, it's a tidal wave. In 2024, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, IRCC, approved over 382,000 temporary resident permits for Indian nationals, a staggering 45.8% of all permits issued that year. And even in 2025, despite tighter visa rules, India still leads by a wide margin. The result? Cities like Brampton, Ontario, and Surrey, British Columbia, have been transformed almost beyond recognition. Walk down certain streets in Brampton, and you'll pass rows of Indian restaurants serving authentic Punjabi thalis, grocery stores stacked with South Asian spices, gold jewelry shops, and clothing boutiques selling saris and sherwanis. Some see this as proof of Canada's multicultural vibrancy. Others see it as a cultural takeover and erasing of the familiar cityscape they once knew. Local politics is feeling the shift, too. In Brampton's City Council, multiple members are of Indian origin, reflecting the electoral power of this growing community. Supporters call it democracy in action, people electing leaders who understand their needs. Critics, however, warn of ethnic bloc politics, where leaders might prioritize the needs of one community over the broader population. The narrative has split into 2 clear camps. The dream, Canada living up to its multicultural ideals, welcoming hard-working newcomers chasing opportunity. The fear, longtime residents feeling like strangers in their own cities, watching cultural displacement unfold in real time. The truth? It's complicated, and it plays out most visibly in jobs and housing. Employment is where tensions get raw. Many Canadian-born job seekers claim they're shut out, especially in industries now dominated by tight-knit Indian professional networks. In trucking, logistics, and certain sectors of IT consulting, job postings often circulate within community WhatsApp groups before they ever hit public job boards. Some Canadian applicants say they've sent dozens of resumes only to face interviews where the first question is, "Do you speak Punjabi or Hindi?" For jobs where those languages aren't strictly necessary, critics see this as a subtle way of hiring their own. But here is the flip side. Many Indian immigrants say they faced the exact same barriers when they arrived. Canadian employers wanted Canadian experience, leaving newcomers locked out. So they built their own networks, a survival strategy, not a conspiracy. Still, the impact is real. Statistics. Canada data shows higher unemployment rates among Canadian-born workers in immigrant-heavy regions. In Brampton, youth unemployment has been stubbornly above the national average. While no official study directly blames Indian hiring practices, the perception gap is widening. The fair solution? Transparent, merit-based hiring for everyone. Because at the end of the day, fairness isn't an us versus them issue. It's a Canadian issue. Housing crisis, the flashpoint. If jobs spark arguments, housing lights a fire. The average home price in Brampton in mid-2025 sits at around $900,000 according to Remax and Wahi, CA reports. For many first-time buyers, that's not just expensive, it's impossible. This isn't only about foreign investors or bidding wars. Immigration-driven population growth plays a huge role. Every year, tens of thousands of new residents, many from India, arrive in cities already strapped for housing supply. Some accuse wealthy newcomers of pooling family resources to outbid other buyers, pushing prices even higher. Others point to the government's failure to build enough affordable housing, blaming Ottawa, not immigrants, for the crisis. But in the heat of bidding wars, nuance often disappears. Instead, you get resentment, rumors, and sometimes outright discrimination. Immigration isn't just about economics, it's about culture, and that's where emotions run deepest. Supporters of the Indian migration wave point out that Canada has always evolved through cultural exchange. Poutine, now a national symbol, started as a local Quebec snack. Hockey came from European stick and ball games mixed with indigenous traditions. Why should Indian spices, music, and festivals be treated differently? Yet, for others, rapid demographic change feels overwhelming. They worry that multiculturalism is turning into cultural silos, with communities living side by side, but not truly blending. The debate isn't about rejecting newcomers, it's about asking, how fast can a country change before it stops feeling like the same country? Another point fueling headlines is crime. While statistics don't show Indian immigrants as disproportionately responsible for crime rates, gang-related incidents in certain areas have drawn media attention. This reinforces fears among those already skeptical of large-scale immigration. Experts warn that when housing, jobs, and integration challenges pile up, social strain can lead to crime regardless of ethnicity. The solution, they say, is investment in youth programs, community policing, and integration initiatives, not blanket blame. This transformation is already reshaping Canadian politics. Immigration has become a top 3 election issue nationwide. Politicians tread carefully, knowing a single misstep could cost them entire voter blocks. Some parties are pushing for reduced immigration quotas to ease pressure on housing and infrastructure. Others argue that immigration is Canada's lifeline, especially with an aging population and low birth rates. But what's clear is this. The immigration debate is no longer a quiet policy discussion, it is a front-page, dinner-table conversation across the country. The loudest voices often dominate the debate, those shouting for open borders and those demanding they be slammed shut. But most Canadians fall somewhere in the middle. They want immigration to continue, but at a pace that matches housing supply, job growth, and integration support. They want newcomers to thrive, but without shutting out those who've called Canada home for generations. And perhaps most importantly, they want honesty. Not political spin, not sanitized talking points. Just an honest conversation about how Canada can remain a land of opportunity without becoming a land of division. The wave of Indian immigration is reshaping Canada's cities, economy, and politics faster than at any time in recent history. Whether you see it as a multicultural success story or a cultural takeover depends on where you stand. But here, that's the truth. Canada's future will be built by both newcomers and longtime citizens together. The question isn't whether change is coming, it's already here. The question is whether Canada can manage it in a way that keeps the promise of 1971 alive, without leaving anyone behind. Because if Canada gets this right, it can remain a global model for diversity. If it gets it wrong, it risks becoming another case study in division, resentment, and missed opportunity.